Yeah, welcome to this video in which I would like to show you some advanced features of DocsAutomator and how you can use them from Zapier and the DocsAutomator app inside of Zapier. Basically, we are looking at two core features of DocsAutomator that make document creation really powerful with DocsAutomator. One is adding images and the other is adding line items. As you can see here in my template, this is an invoice template. I have a bunch of variables defined, like the client name, street, etc. So these are regular text placeholders. I just substitute these with text. And if you are not familiar with this at all, I recommend you watching the first Zapier video that I've recorded about the foundations of this and how to get sort of your first document printed. This video focuses on line items and images. So line items basically are lists of things. And these need to be declared in a special way. I'm also going to link a knowledge doc in the description below. But basically, you always need to give line underscore items one in this case, because this is the first one. You can add an unlimited amount of dynamic line items or line items inside of your documents. And then you just add regular variables in that row. So by defining it this way, you're basically telling DocsAutomator now a list of stuff is coming, a list of things are coming, and please start generating rows over those lists of things. And we're going to see how we need to pass that data in Zapier in order to have it formatted in the right way in order to generate these lists. The other feature is adding images dynamically. As you can see here, this follows a special syntax as well, image underscore, and then some unique name. So in this case, it's logo because I want to add a logo there. This can be anything basically. Images are also possible inside of line items and then need to be passed with every line item row. Let's do line items first. How do we do this? Let's create a new automation. Let's call this invoices. We need to select API again and then our template. Our template is this one. Just going to copy this and paste it here to find it. There we go. And now it's selected and we can use it. Let's go into Zapier and let's look at the data source. Where's our data coming from? Our data is coming from this Google Sheet, this accounting sheet. I have an invoices tab here and a line items tab. Basically, we have an invoice A and invoice B. Then we have a logo here, looks like this. And then we have a button where we want to print an invoice. Like, it's not really a button, it's just a link. And this link basically catches a hook and adds the invoice identifier, in our case, the value that we want to use in order to search for this invoice. So as you can see here, I've turned this into a hyperlink. And then basically I'm encoding this invoice A here and I call it print invoice, and I'm adding this after an invoice as an invoice parameter on our UL, and we will be able to select this parameter then in Zapier. Doesn't really matter, like we just need some data from somewhere in order to have some line items that we can print. And Google Sheets in Zapier gives us the option to return line items right away. So they're right away formatted in the right way if multiple lines are found. And we want to do that by going into our line items table and finding all those lines that in our case, for instance, have invoice A if we're generating for invoice A. Let's go into Zapier. Let's define our trigger. So this would be webhooks by Zapier. Let me search for this here. I think there are 2 or so. Yeah, there we go. We're just catching a hook. Just very simple. I'm copying this because the one here is still an old one. So I'm going to change this to that. And then we need to make sure that we have the same one here as well. And now just click it once. So we have some test data. Going to click on test trigger. There we go. And as you can see here, the invoice parameter is now invoice A. So this is what we passed here by giving this invoice URL parameter and then passing invoice A. Now I can continue with this record. And what do I want to do? The first thing I want to do is I want to go to Google Sheets and I want to find basically our invoices row. So let's start with the invoice row. First, we need a find, this is the lookup spreadsheet row event. Let's actually change this. I need to connect a new account. real quick. There we go. I click on continue. I choose my drive. I choose the accounting spreadsheet. The worksheet in here is invoices. And the lookup column that we want to use is the name. So there you go. This needs to be unique, of course. So this shouldn't exist multiple times in the sheet. And then as the lookup value, we take the parameter that we passed via our button, so the invoice A. Now we continue, we test this step, and there we go. We find sort of all the values in that row. Now we need another sheets action, which is lookup spreadsheet rows, because now we want to look up multiple rows. And as you can see here, the output is line items. And this is exactly what we can use then in order to generate documents. So I'm going to use this. Same account, drive is my drive. And then the sheet is our accounting sheet. And the worksheet now is line items. So in the sheet here, the second tab. And then the lookup column is invoice. So we want to look up according to an invoice again, because the rows that we need will all have the same invoice. And we need the value, lookup value. Sorry, I actually was the wrong. Yeah, there we go. Let's clear this. So the lookup value on this is once again invoice A. And the row count, let's say up to 100. We can have a lot. And then continue, we test this. So this should find 3 rows now, 1, 2, 3. And what's really cool about this is it actually finds it in the right format. So this already has the line items format that we need in our next step now, because now we go to the next step and we say we use DocsAutomator. DocsAutomator only has one event, which is create document. We choose our account, which is this one. We continue, and then we select our automation. This is the invoices automation. So this one, you can call this whatever you want. The document name for this, let's say we look this up from the invoices one. We call this invoice A. And then we also add the, let's say, client name to this. So this is how we want to call documents. We get to the image part in a second, but do line items first. For line items, we can now go to our step 3 where we found those line items. And now I can now map my values here. So the first one is product, and product is basically position A, B, C. Like this is product. Could have called this better, but that's how it is now. And the amount is column C. Then we have units, which is the unit price is meant by that. Could have named that better. And then column E for the total. So this I'm calculating here. This is basically a formula, C2, the quantity times the unit price. There we go. We continue, and now we test this step. So we generate this document now in order to see how it looks like. There we go. And we can open this, and looks pretty good. I mean, I haven't added any other data now. I only have added the line items data. But as you can see here, this generates a row for every item that we have in our second tab here for invoice A. Really, really cool. This, by the way, is static text. So this I didn't pass. This is in the template. As you can see here, it's just always defined as static text. So I only had to pass the amount here, and I'm quite happy with it. So that's how to create line items. In Zapier, you have triggers or actions that have line items as their output, like spreadsheet rows in Google Sheets. And it was indicated on that action already that this actually returns line items. Sometimes you don't have that. Sometimes you just have a comma-separated list of things. And for that, Zapier has a formatter where you have like a line itemizer in that formatter, so you can turn comma-separated values into line items. And I'm sure I'm going to record another video about that real soon. I highly recommend this guide here, the Zapier Guide to Line Items. I'm also going to link to that in the description below, where they go into detail on that as well. So let's add an image. And that is what we wanted to do. And after we've done that, I want to add basically this link to our spreadsheet, and then we turn this on and test it. So the logo, we've seen where that comes from. That comes from our invoices table and is a link here. Logo or images in DocsAutomator need to exist publicly on the web. Then they can be added. So let's test with that. We test again. By the way, DocsAutomator has a preview mode, so it would have been smart to put preview mode on here. Then it's not consuming any documents, but PDFs will be generated with a on them. There we go. Let's take this, and as you can see, the image has been added. How can we resize this? We can go to our automation. Here you see the image logo variable. It has a setting icon next to it, and we can say, I don't know, 200 pixels in width, or let's say 150. And now if I go ahead and I retest this, this would be scaled down. You can also restrict the height of it. This takes a second to refresh. There we go. And now you can see that it's scaled down. This was the old one. This is the new one. There we go. Something I've mentioned in the foundations, in the first foundations Zapier DocsAutomator app foundations video already, is that if you are relying on DocsAutomator storing the PDF, you would have to adjust the PDF expiration value here. Currently it's on immediate, which means the PDF is going to expire very, very quickly after it has been generated. If you want to keep it forever, you would go on no expiration. If you're uploading it somewhere else, probably immediate is good for you, because then you don't want DocsAutomator to store it. If you're uploading it to Google Drive, for instance, also just keep that in mind. Let's add a last step here, which is we want to update our spreadsheet row. We want to update the one that we found in step 2. So we say accounting, and then the worksheet is invoices, and then the row is custom is the row number. And what I want to update here is the link to the PDF. So I want to change this to the generated link under step 4. We test the step, go to invoices, and there we go. Just got added. I can open this again, and that looks good. And now I can publish this. Something that I've shown in the first video as well is how to return the link to the Google Doc as well. If you want to keep the Google Doc, you would have to enable this here as Save Google Doc. Then it would return not only the PDF URL, but also the Google Doc URL. Now we have turned this on, and now I can actually click on this button for invoice B. This is triggered from a browser window, and we wait a second and hopefully see the document being added here as well in a bit. There we go. It is. We can open this. It opens. It actually has almost the exact same data on it, so we don't really see any difference, at least not right away. Probably the numbers are different compared to here. Yeah, there we go. Like the slightly different. Anyways, that's how you can create documents with line items and images. This, of course, has only been the example using Google Sheets. There are many, many apps that return line items. And if you use a formatter step in Zapier, then you can turn a lot of data into line items in order to generate lists of things inside of your documents. This is just an invoice example. Of course, this can be expanded to many, many use cases. You can create very, very powerful, complex, dynamic documents with the line items feature. As you can see, we've also haven't really added any other data here, so I left that blank. Of course, I didn't want to make this video too long, but of course, if you wanted to complete this, then we would have, or if we wanted to complete this, we would have to fill out the rest of the data now here as well. I hope that you trust me that it's working if we would do that. What's really cool in Zapier is that we can combine these values here, so you can take various values from previous steps in order to add them to your documents. Yeah, but I hope that gave you a good overview of how to add line items to your documents, how to add images to your documents. As I said before, images are also allowed inside of line items. Can't wait to see what you're building with it. Zapier has 7,000 plus apps inside of it, so there are a lot of possibilities, endless possibilities. Really excited about it, and if you have any questions, always there to support. Please reach out, and until then, I wish you happy automating and speak to you very, very soon.